Welcome back to the Black and Gold Report. We're now joined by head men's basketball coach Ben Miller. Coach, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jenna.
Well, there have been a lot of preseason recognitions for your team so far. The Braves were picked to win the Peach Belt Conference title by the league's coaches and have already obtained some pretty lofty preseason rankings in 3 different polls. How much do you hear your guys talk about those types of things, and what do you say as a coach to keep those things from affecting your play in a negative way?
Well, I hope they're not talking about it much anymore. We kind of got our egos checked a little bit Friday, which was probably what we needed, because really all those rankings are based on what we did last year. And obviously we have a lot of players returning, but you know, so far this year, this team has done nothing. It's nice, it's great for the fans, recruiting, so we'd rather be ranked than not ranked, but once you start playing games, it's a whole new ball game, it's a whole new season.
Well, do you believe the notion that preseason hype and national rankings help paint a target on the back of your team? And what does it mean to the progression of your program to have so much put on your team early in the season?
Well, I think it's good. I mean, I think we are going to get everybody's best shot because getting a win means more. Whether it's the region rankings or whatever, knocking off a ranked team, everybody's going to be hyped up and excited to play. So our guys need to understand that and accept that we've got to be at our best day in and day out.
Well, you were able to see your team compete in a pair of preseason contests, a double overtime victory over the All-Army team at Lumbee Guarantee Bank Court, and then a loss to Wake Forest that snapped a 3-game win streak in exhibition contests. Can you go through the process of scheduling exhibition games each year and what kind of competition you look for and hope to get out of those preseason games?
Well, we try to find the best teams we can play, whether it's Division I opponents, and we've been fortunate to play a lot of those type of games, which are obviously going to be great competition and in good environments. And then, whether it's the All-Army team, Coker, we've played Athletes in Action. Those are some of the better teams that we can find in a situation like this. So anything we can do to make it tough on our guys, to execute offense, to guard them, where they've got a lot of talented players. And, all those teams were very well coached too. So you're getting talent plus well-coached teams. So hopefully that'll get you ready for non-conference and then eventually conference play.
Well, we saw the same lineup in both exhibition games. You had Brandon Winford, Tyler Cordenbrock, and Brandon Watts in the front court, and then you had Quamaine Rose as shooting guard and Alex Bradley handling the point guard duties. What is it about the lineup that you like most, and what are your first 1 or 2 options off the bench?
Well, it's interesting because we do have basically 4 starters back. Tyler Cordenbrock didn't always play starter minutes because of Ben Jacobs last year. But Tyler's going to be one of the most improved players, I think, in our league. So I think he's ready for more minutes, more responsibility. And so most of those guys have had experience. Even Alex Bradley, coming back from a redshirt year, has started games for us and understands the responsibility of how important it is to get off to a good start with our defense, our execution. Jihad Wright's another senior. So, in terms of guys coming off the bench, he's typically going to be the first sub in the backcourt. And having his experience coming in off the bench is very valuable, along with a couple of, freshmen that have stepped up.
Well, how much experimenting do you do with your lineups this early in the season, and at what point in the season do you hope to get settled into the same starting 5 every game?
We may be there now. I don't anticipate any changes now, despite how poorly we played Friday. I think it wasn't like you could pinpoint 1 or 2 players. Our team wasn't focused. Our staff wasn't focused. So, they did come back and play much better Saturday. So that was a good sign. But I don't anticipate major changes unless situations of performance, injuries, things like that dictate it. But I think right now I feel like we've settled into a pretty good rotation.
Well, you've already played a pair of regular season games so far, both at the PBC SAC Challenge over the weekend in Florence, South Carolina. Lenore Ryan used 14 three-pointers and shot nearly 53% from the field and handing the Braves a loss in the season opener. What did you see from your team in that game that you've been able to identify what went wrong against the Bears?
Not much defense. I mean, I think we might have set a record for points allowed in the half, that second half. Give them credit because they played well, shot it well, but our defense was not nearly where it needs to be to compete at this level. And so whether it was complacency, our guys not being quite focused enough, it was probably good for us to get refocused and recommitted to the defensive end because that's where our foundation needs to start there and rebounding. So offensively, we were fine. I mean, we scored 95 points, but we still got beat because we didn't guard. So if you don't guard and you don't rebound, it's going to be tough to win.
All right, well, we're going to take our next commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to continue talking basketball with head coach Ben Miller, so stay tuned. Welcome back to the Black and Gold Report. We're still joined by head men's basketball coach Ben Miller. Coach, we just talked about Friday, but you were able to rebound with a win against Catawba on Saturday in Florence, a game that saw UNCP shoot 32 of 36 from the free throw line, and a key victory using a strong second half. What were the differences against Catawba that you didn't see on Friday's loss to Lenoir-Rhyne?
I think the first half our defense was much better. We did watch film of the start of the second half as a team, and it was not great. And we kind of let them get some confidence and get back in the game. And so that's something we got to understand. That, it's a 40-minute game. But our guys did see that even though we turned the ball over, we didn't shoot a great percentage. We were still able to win primarily because our defense was better. So that was a good sign. It was good to see the seniors and some of our veterans step up and respond to a setback.
Well, you have a bunch of veterans on this year's team, including 4 seniors and 5 juniors. Have you been able to see some of the benefits from that experience through the first month of the season? And what stuck out to you most in the leadership of your seniors?
Well, we talked, as a team, and then I met with the 4 seniors, and we just talked about where we were after that opener and what we didn't do and what we can do to impact change, because I think it's a transition for them stepping into that leadership role. They've all played prominent minutes, but Ben and Griffin provided a lot of leadership. They don't have to try to be Ben and Griffin, but we did challenge those seniors to step up to lead us defensively, rebounding, the things that are most important to us having a chance to be at our best.
Well, we've been able to see the early emergence of 2 freshmen, big man Carson Mounts and swingman James Murray Bowles. Talk about those guys and what they bring to the court for you.
Yeah, it's an exciting freshman class. We've been able to redshirt some, but those 2 guys obviously are key guys in our top 8 in the rotation. So they're both very talented. Obviously Carson's got a lot of size, but he's got good hands. He's got a great demeanor on the court. He's got to be a little more assertive and aggressive, but I think that'll come with time. And then, I think a lot of people were able to see what James Murray Boyles is capable of, what he did against Catawba, 18 in the second half, and really kind of stepped up and took over that game for a stretch. World of potential, very versatile player. They're still learning. They're still going to have their ups and downs, but I like what we've seen so far, and I think they're just going to keep improving.
Well, who have been some of the other new guys that have impressed you so far, and which ones do you expect to make a considerable impact on your team this year?
Well, they're not new, but Alex and Jihad redshirting last year, they're back playing for us. And I think those guys are, Alex starting at the point guard spot, and then Jihad being probably the first player off the bench. And he kind of likes that role, embraces that 6-man spark off the bench role. So those guys primarily are going to give us a lot. I think a lot of the other new guys right now are in redshirt roles where they're working on their games, preparing for next year, but also helping us in practice. But I think, with James and Carson, and then having Alex and Jihad back, all those guys are going to give us really important minutes.
Well, where would you say your strengths are for your team right now, and where do you feel you have the most potential for growth?
I'd like to say our strength could be our defense and rebounding, and we showed flashes of it. Even, the Wake Forest game or All Army, there were times where our defense went to another level. Our rebounding went to another level because, All Army, they were big, Wake Forest was big, and we battled with those guys. Or, the first half against Catawba. Now it's a matter of sustained effort and doing that for longer stretches. We're not going to play perfect for 40 minutes. But we got to be determined to start the first half well and sustain it, start the second half, and just try to build on that. And the other thing I think that's a strength is our balance. We got a lot of guys capable of scoring. So I don't think we're a team that you can key on 1 or 2 guys. I think we got a lot of guys capable of 15, 20-point games.
Well, you head back on the road to face a pretty stout Winston-Salem State team on Tuesday before heading to Mount Olive this weekend to face the nationally ranked Trojans in Barton in the Pickle Classic. This is probably one of the toughest November schedules that the Braves have ever seen. What are some of the benefits and disadvantages to having such a tough schedule this early in the season?
Well, it's like Friday night. I think you get a very clear picture of where you are. You know, we may take a few more lumps than we have in years past, but hopefully we can get stronger from the experience.
All right. Well, thank you, Coach, very much for being on the show with us today.
Thank you, Jenna.
And thank you for watching this week's edition of the Black and Gold Report. Until next week, go Braves.